Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I'll fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good. Fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts. I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong. I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth. Can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have it douse, not what I'm about. Have your f***ing cloud, it be raining now. I keep making sound, go another round. I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me. A slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can.
And welcome to another edition of Unscripted. As you can see today, I don't have a slideshow up because we're not going to do that today. Typically, that's how we do. Don't get it twisted because we do use slides. But for this Saturday, I'm just nonchalant. It's like I got my pajamas on. We're just going to chill. We're going to have a conversation. Logan's at work. Frankie's dealing with the kid. Gonzo's dealing with wrestling. So today it's just me and Stat Guy. And when the Stat Guy comes in, it's like having a TED Talk. So we're going to have a TED Talk about sports. That's what this show's going to be about. We're going to start it off with my boy Stat Guy. First of all, let's do some introduction. How you doing, brother? How you doing, Stat Guy?
Doing great, Jay. Thanks for letting me hop on today.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have not figured it out, Stat Guy, he's kind of like, you have substitute teachers. He's like the best substitute teacher ever. So is Jonathan Mathis. These are guys I love to have come on when the regulars aren't here because they just have a wealthful amount of knowledge and it just gives a different flavor, quite honestly, to the show. I know you wanted to talk about specifically a couple of things, and so I'm going to start off with the first one. And you'll have to tell me his name because I cannot remember his name. But there was a report, Wall. I think his last name was Wall. W-A-H-L, correct?
Yeah, Garrett Wall.
Garrett Wall. So Garrett Wall, as you know, was the reporter who passed away in Qatar at the World Cup. And the story has it that he was at the World Cup and he just collapsed. They tried doing CPR on him. They were not able to revive him. And if you know anything about Garrett Wall, he was a gentleman that had the soccer ball with the gay pride flag around the soccer ball, and they were not going to let him in to the World Cup at first because of that shirt, and eventually he did kind of work his way in to the World Cup. Now, the reason why you may ask why did he have the shirt on is because it was actually in respect to his brother, who is a gay person. And he was doing it to, bring that flavor over there, show support for his brother, things of that nature. And that's what he was doing. And they let him in. Now his brother is seemingly thinking that possibly did he die of natural causes? The guy was apparently in good shape. So the brother is suspecting foul play. Dustin, man, it's an incredible story. It's an incredible story. Do you think it was foul play, or do you think the man just natural causes? I mean, what do you think happened?
Well, he was in the hospital earlier in the week. So there was obviously a lot of people thought it was just natural causes because he was in the hospital earlier in the week. He tested for COVID. He actually, I think, spent 36 hours or 48 hours in the hospital, and they said that everything was good, so he checked out. But the other reason why some people think there is foul play included was, according to reports, he was actually in the middle of a story that really could have flipped FIFA on its head in terms of a controversial story that had to do with cheating scandals and a bunch of other stuff that I think a lot of people didn't want released. And it was just kind of the whole way that he died yesterday, where people think that foul play was involved because it happened in the middle of a match.
Right.
They didn't even They didn't even stop the match. They kept the match going as if nothing ever happened. Granted, yes, it didn't happen on the field where anybody saw anything, but you would think that if someone dies during the middle of a match, whether it's in the crowd or whether it's anywhere, that they would be stopping it temporarily to like get everything figured out and get everything situated. So I think that's why there is some foul play involved, just because it is such a weird situation and just such a weird way of how it happened.
Yeah, it is, man. It's extremely weird. And again, man, look, we live in a time where, especially when when you're on the other side of the pond, whether it be Russia, like Brittany Griner, and what she went through, you're in the U.S., we're all used to our comforts and we can do what we want, say what we want, think what we want. And, it's just almost like we take it for granted because we're just not used to not having it. And then when you go across the pond and you're over in their laws or their country or their way of doing things, suddenly you don't have those protections anymore. Now, I'm not saying by any means that he was murdered. I don't know what happened over there. I don't know if the Qatar government or if, anybody over there, a radical thing or whatever, if he was poisoned. I mean, you're not going to know any of that until they do an autopsy and get further clarification on what exactly did happen to him. But you got to admit, Dustin, I mean, it is crazy. It's one thing to go to the hospital, but when they release you, they technically release you. They've done a pretty thorough thing that, if something was there, unless it's something crazy, they should have been able to notice. And they obviously thought he was healthy enough to leave the hospital. And then to just kill over like that for no reason, I don't know. To me, it's just really, really super suspicious.
Yeah, and as of 7 hours ago, they have now come out and said that his death is deemed suspicious. And that was released 7 hours ago. So now it seems like the more and more they're looking at it, the more and more they feel that foul play was involved.
Yeah, and again, man, hey, like I said, hey, fellas and ladies, you got to be careful when we go to these countries, man. And I'm not telling anybody not to stand behind their beliefs or if you want to wear a shirt that maybe goes against the grain of what that particular region believes in or doesn't believe in. Hey, you got to understand, man, when you do that, you really are taking things at your own risk. I'm not telling you to do it, not do it, but I'm telling you, if you do it, be mindful of everything around you because it's not like here. It's not like here. You don't have those same protections. Those protections are done. They're gone. And I think as Americans, one of the few things, Dustin, one of the few things when I was in the military, one of the few things they always told us don't stick out because when you stick out, that's usually when things happen. They always told us to make sure you know the law of the country, follow the law of the country, and then just try to blend in and not make yourself too crazy known because that's usually when things happen. And sometimes, hey, it is what it is. Americans, I hate to tell you, but we're a high-valued target. Once you go across the pond, a United States citizen is a high-valued target, and that's just something you have to be mindful of. And I hope this isn't what it is. I hope that maybe it was just a natural cause. But again, if it's not, it's a shame that that our world is the way the world is. But our world is the way the world is, and we have to be careful about those. In any event, I would like to say rest in peace. And our condolences go out to the family of Garrett Wall.
Yeah, his brother Eric, who is the one that is gay or whatever, came out to reporters today and said 24 hours before his brother died, his brother was receiving death threats.
Oh, yeah. And again, it doesn't surprise me. It does not surprise me one bit. Because like I said, there are not those same protections that you have here that you would have over there. And it is what it is. And that's just one of the things you do when you go overseas and you take a radical stance. You really are putting that target on your back, and there is nobody to help you. There just isn't. So just something to be mindful of. If anybody plans to go over, and go to a World Cup or go to a country or do something in the country, just be mindful of the country and what their religions are, what their culture is like. Really get to know where you're going because it really could be the difference between you being okay and not being okay. Just be smart about where you're going and understand that even though you may want to put yourself out there and represent things that are controversial. It's not America, and they don't have the laws that we have, nor the culture that we have. Just food for thought. Secondly, we're going to go a little bit of this baseball signings. I'm not going to hit we already know who signed where. There's still 25 people, though. Big, not big, but still 25 free agents, I think, that are out there that could still be somewhat difference makers on a team. We know Carlos Correa is number one. We know that Rodon is number two. And then you still have a few other. Benintendi is out there as an outfielder. And then there's several other pitchers, lesser-known pitchers that are available. Stat guy, is there any one person that you think is going to get hired? Like, where do you see Rondon go? Let's just start off Rodon. Where is Rodon going to land? I mean, where do you see him landing?
I thought Rodon was going to end up with the Yankees just because the Yankees really needed kind of that frontline starter to kind of pair with Garrett Cole. But the more I think about it, for some reason I think Carlos Rodon's going to end up in Texas to get paired with Jacob deGrom, and then they have Mark Leiter, who they drafted last year. Jack Leiter, who they drafted last year out of Vanderbilt, that is expected to be in the rotation by the end of this season, maybe early next year. And then with Bruce Bochy being over there now, you're giving him that starting three of deGrom, Rodon, and potentially Leiter. That's a pretty good starting three in Texas, and we've already seen what that offense can do with Seager and Simeon and all those pieces that they have offensively. And if you add Rodon into the mix of what they've already done, Texas becomes an instant playoff contender overnight.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. You all know that the number one thing with baseball is get your start. Look, you got to have your pitching. I'm not saying that you don't have to have offense, but as the old saying goes, championships are won by defense. And if your pitching isn't on point, I mean, that's really good. I don't know, man. I don't know how you look at baseball. When I look at baseball, the first thing I'm thinking is, okay, number one, I got to get my rotation. I got to figure out I got to have some relief. And then I also got to have, defensive-minded guys on my infield, right? I mean, those are probably some things. Those are my key things that I'm looking at. And obviously, when you start looking at the key things in the outfield, you're also going to look at their slash line because you do want to have good hitters as well as good defensemen. But I think everything's got to start with that pitching. I think a lot of times when I look around the baseball league, I see all of these great, hitters going left and going right. But very subtly do I see a lot of these teams really concentrating on their relief. And again, the big splash is always starting pitching, right? But your middle relievers never really kind of factor in there on people's shopping lists when I see them doing things. And I think a lot of times those World Series championships are coming with the teams that had that really, really good middle relief pitching. And if you don't believe me, I mean, look at the Braves last year when they beat the Stros. Relief pitching got them that. When you look at this year with Astros versus pretty much anybody that we faced, it was always our relief pitching. It was always Montero. It was always Presley. It was always Hector Neris. It was or even Abreu. I mean, those were the guys. Once you got past our starting pitching, we still kicked your ass. And I know that once we got past Philly starting pitching or Yankees starting pitching or even Seattle starting pitching, they had zero. And that's what I knew. I said, I told Frankie all the time, I said, all I want to do is get past your starting pitching. 1 or 2 runs, whatever. Give me past your starting pitching, and I swear to God, the game's ours. And inevitably it happened that way. But Stat Guy, do you think that middle relief pitching is just kind of forgotten about when it comes to free agency?
I think it is because I think a lot of teams look at it as you have your premier position players, you have your premier starting pitchers, you have your premier closers like the Kenley Jansen and Craig Kimbrell before Craig Kimbrell kind of went south. And I think those are the positions they try to address first because when you look at relief pitchers, I use the phrase it's a dime a dozen because you can get relief pitchers pretty much any time during the year, any time during the offseason. Granted, some of them are going to be better than others, but I think a lot of the coaches have that mindset where we need to fill this need first, and we can just kind of pick relief pitchers off as we need them and just kind of throw them into certain situations.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I know stat guy, I apologize. Anthony Price asked the question: is everybody tired? Well, first of all, let me go back to his previous. I don't want to overlook that one. Is anybody tired of knowing where the Padres are getting the money? Look, they're getting the money from the same places New York gets it and Dodgers get it. There's no salary cap. They got rich ownership, and they just pay. They just pay. And San Diego is a pretty decent market, so it's not like they're a bottom tier. Let's keep that straight. But thirdly, which is I think this is the one question stat guy that really intrigues me the most. He says this: everybody getting tired of super teams in Major League Baseball. Well, I don't know because
you see it in the NBA. So
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Like you see it in the NBA. So if you're gonna say you're tired of seeing it in baseball, you kind of got to use the same argument that you're tired to see it in the NBA too, because everyone is starting to do that now.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people would call the Astros a super team, and we are. Astros are a super team, no doubt about it. But we weren't a super team by going out and buying people. We're a super team because of our farm system and our development process in the farm system. That's why we're a super team. But yeah, I agree. When I look at the Yankees, when I look at them, I can't even say Dodgers this year because the Dodgers didn't do anything. They just sat there and watched their teams leave. But I guess when you talk about super teams in terms of spending, obviously Padres, Mets, Yankees, those are all your guys that are out there just throwing mountains of cash at these people. What makes me the most upset is not the super team, because truthfully, the super teams, if you want to call them quote unquote super team, like the Phillies, Padres, Yankees, Mets, none of them have won the World Series. None of them. So I'm not really so upset. I almost find it comical that these guys are spending all this damn money and they're not going anywhere. I'll tell you what pisses me off. What pisses me off, and Gonzo, I wish you were on here because I would apologize. I don't want you to think I'm picking on you. But what pisses me off are the teams that just don't do anything. Like the Reds, literally, like Gonzo will even tell you, they will grow the guy up out of the farm system only to watch him leave and not do anything about it. It's the teams that aren't doing anything, either A, with their farm system, or B, in free agency. For example, the Pirates. Pirates is another team. I hate seeing teams that aren't contributing to make the league more competitive. The Oakland A's, Marlins.
See, that's like, I know a lot of people say they want baseball to have a salary cap, and I understand their argument on that. I'm okay with kind of how baseball goes about things without having a salary cap, and personally, I would like to see the NBA and the NFL get away from the salary cap too, because I think it would bring more parity to those leagues. The one thing that I would like to see baseball do is put like a maximum floor in terms of what a team can spend, because you look at teams like Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Tampa Bay, where their payrolls are sitting at like $35 to $40 million, and they really can't afford to sign any of these high-priced free agents. Put like a floor saying your salary cap, or not salary cap, but your salary has to be a minimum of $80 million. Like put like a minimum salary in place for all these teams. That way they have no excuse for not at least trying to get some of these higher price free agents. Because even at like $80 million, if you're the Pittsburgh Pirates, $80 million, you can afford a frontline starting pitcher for $25-30 million. You can afford a frontline position player for $25-30 million, and yet you'll still have $20 million left over to play with to fill out the rest of your roster, compared to now, at a $31 million payroll, you can't afford to sign anybody. That's a high-price free agent, because that's literally going to be your entire payroll heading into next season. MLB needs to come up with a way to be like, you have a minimum payroll that you need to sustain. That way you can at least try to be competitive. Even if you're not going to be, you can at least show the fans that you're trying to be competitive by making some moves to help you out with that.
Mike Hughes, if you're still on with us, I put my Facebook is acting kind of stupid right now, but I put the link in the comments. If you want to come on the show, hey, more the merrier, man. I'll always get your baseball take. You know that. So, hey, it's in there. If you want to come on, you just hit that little link, and we'll get the party started. He said, "Wait a minute. Okay, I think it's there. Okay, it's there." But yeah, man, it's just crazy to me, the way this baseball season is going. And again, man, hey, the Mets are making moves. The Phillies are certainly making moves. But let me ask you, stat guy, man, who on the AL side of life really made enough moves to give the Astros enough competition? Do you think?
On the AL side of things, there really isn't. If you look at the free agency and how free agency's unfolded so far this year, there really hasn't been a team in the American League that really has done too much. Like even with Houston added Jose Abreu to the mix, but they lost Justin Verlander, and they really haven't added anybody besides Jose Abreu.
Right.
You look at the rest. The Yankees haven't done anything really. They added Anthony Rizzo and Aaron Judge. They haven't addressed their pitching. They haven't addressed anything else. The Red Sox added that Japanese outfielder the other day, but haven't done much outside of that. The Blue Jays added Kevin Kiermaier today, which obviously is not going to be like an out-of-the-park pickup, but it's still a nice pickup. Guardians added Josh Bell, but nobody else in the AL Central has really done anything. Outside of the Angels adding a couple pieces and the Rangers getting Jacob deGrom, it's been the National League that's been the ones that have been making the most noise. The Padres, the Mets, the Phillies, Cardinals getting Wilson Contreras. And I mean, I just think even Houston should be the favorites going in, obviously because they're defending champs. But I think the American League could be a lot more balanced this year than in the past just because of what I said. Nobody's really gone out of their way to try to make themselves the team to beat at this point. It's just kind of a level playing field right now.
No, I definitely agree. So let me ask you this, man. So you think right now, what about the NL side? Let me ask you this. Look at the NL side, man. Who do you think is truly the favorite on the – you got to imagine the Dodgers aren't there anymore. To me, they just lost too much. They haven't added anything. But, again, you look at the Padres. They've taken on stuff. Mets have taken on stuff. Phillies have taken on players. Like, who do you see in the NL side of life? Getting into the World Series. Like, who's your – if you had to say who your favorite is, who's your favorite right now?
I mean, the Dodgers, despite losing what they've lost and not gaining anything, the Dodgers still have to be up there because they've been up there for the last decade. Braves are still going to be up there. But right now, I'm going to put the Mets as the slight favorite. And the only reason why I'm going to say the Mets is, yes, the Phillies made the move to get Trey Turner. Yes, they made the move to get Taijuan Walker. But they haven't addressed their bullpen yet. And that was kind of one of the weakness last year. They're also not going to have Bryce Harper for an extended period of time this year, so they're not going to be at full strength until Bryce Harper comes into play. You go to the Padres. Padres got God, I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden. Bogarts, but they lost Mike Clevenger from their starting rotation. They haven't done anything to replace him. They haven't addressed anybody in that bullpen outside of Josh Hader. And they're missing Fernando Tatis for a period of time this year. So they're not even going to be at full strength right away. And you look at the Mets lost Jacob deGrom, but they replaced them with Justin Verlander. So you basically replace an ace with an ace. And they've added Brandon Nimmo to an extension. They've added to all the pieces they've lost so far in free agency. And as long as nobody gets injured, the Mets are going to be the one team that's at full strength when the season starts.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. And I see the Mets because that pitch is, and I think if the Mets are able to acquire Rodon, that's even a bigger thing. I mean, that's even bigger because now you're looking at Rodon, Scherzer, Verlander, and I forget who the other guy. I don't know if it really even matters at this point. Though, is it not? It's not. Is it Walker? Is that who they have? Taijuan Walker, or is he the one?
Phillies.
No, Walker went to the Phillies. Who do they get?
They have Carlos Carrasco. They have
okay.
They're not deGrom anymore. Verlander, Scherzer, Carlos Carrasco. They have David Peterson, the lefty, who started when people got hurt. Otherwise, he's more of a swing man. Trevor Williams is a swing man. But outside of those big three, they have some pitchers in the minors that I'm sure are going to get a chance this year, but they don't have really much outside of those top three.
Yeah, a couple of things. Number one, I really love this comment. With the amount of the Yankees spit on Judge, you can fly your ass to Dominican and sign 10 switch-hitting Dominicans under the age of 20 for a sack of potatoes. Hey, it's true, though. Hey, think about that. I don't know. Look, I don't know. We haven't done that before. Hey, look, Now you got to be 16 years old overseas in order to sign a contract.
Not necessarily.
Well, it's 16. I saw that. You have to be, you can sign younger, but it's not enforceable. The only contracts that are enforceable are 16 and older.
Yeah, you can sign a contract at 14 in the Dominican.
No, I understand that, but that contract means about as much as that toilet paper means. Okay, you can wipe your ass with it, and that contract really doesn't mean anything unless they're 16, and then they can enforce it because we've seen that. That guy, you've seen where they've gone down, they're offering those contracts to 14s and 12 years, and then what do? They bailed out on them. We saw a whole article about it not that long ago at ESPN that talked about that various thing. But what I'm saying is these clubs can go down there. Hell, you can sign up, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Venezuelans, whoever you want to get. Oh, Lord, you look better than your dad. And, hey, you can bring them back, throw them in, hey, watch this, throw them in the minor leagues, see which ones pan out, see which ones don't. And you, like he said, he really didn't spend a whole lot of money. Why aren't more people? Well, and now, correct me if I'm wrong, they're actually getting ready to start an international draft, aren't they?
They're getting ready to start the international draft, and what helps them out, too, is so many of these foreign draft picks are from the Dominican Republic, they're from Cuba, they're from Venezuela. And because you have the minor league system the way it is, you can stash some of these 16, 17-year-olds in that Dominican complex league for 2 years. And you can let them in that Dominican summer league just to get their first taste of professional baseball. And then when they hit like 18, then you can bring them stateside. And it's like basically the equivalent of drafting a high schooler out of high school, putting them in the minor leagues at 19. But in this case, that person will have 2 years of professional experience playing in the Dominican Republic before coming stateside.
And again, there's a lot to it. And again, Anthony Price, he said, how do you bring in a free agent to a bottom team that won't win without throwing money to someone? I agree, man. Hey,
that's why I said every team should be forced to have at least a certain amount of money as like their bottom line. Say like $80 million is the lowest amount of money that your team can have as your salary. That way you have money to give at least one, even if it's only one person for 25, 30 million, at least you have the money there where you can bring in one difference maker to potentially change the way a season goes for your franchise, because all it takes is bring in that one difference maker. All of a sudden, this team ends up performing a little better than what anyone expected, and then the next offseason, you have more difference makers that want to show up.
Yeah. By the way, I just was looking at the uniforms of Army and Navy, and Army uniforms are so much better than Navy.
Yeah,
Navy, you look horrible.
Absolutely.
Your uniforms look high schoolish, and I don't know why you got this NASA crap on there. I love the NASA, don't get me wrong, but you are Navy. You are water. Get away from NASA. That's Air Force. What a time to be alive, man. But no, hey, let me ask you this. Salary cap. Should there be I feel like there should be a salary cap in baseball. That way these top tier teams like the Yankees, the Dodgers, the ones that can just spend exorbitant amount of money, they need to be taxed on that. And I think with the cap, then you're helping out the lower level teams that necessarily can't spend that kind of money. Well, okay, let's put some measures in place to help them out. Do you agree or do you disagree? And you like the more uncapped spending?
I do like the uncapped spending just because they still have a luxury tax. So there is still technically
where does the luxury tax kick in? Because I honestly don't even have that number. I know right now the Yankees payroll is at $320 million a year.
Right. Yeah, there's a tier 1, a tier 2, and a tier 3 on the luxury tax. The luxury tax kicks in at I want to say 235. So when you pass 235 million, you owe a certain percentage. And then when you pass 260 million, which is the tier 2, you earn a certain percentage. And then anything over 300 million is like your tier 3. As things sit right now, the New York Mets have a 315, 316 million payroll. They owe $65 million in luxury tax fees.
And you know what I love about that stock guy? Do you know what I love the most about it? You know what I just love? Is the fact that the Astros have $193 million a year payroll. We're underneath the luxury, and we're still kicking their ass. It's almost like they're paying more money to watch us kick their ass. What a time to be alive. Just let that sink in for a minute. I just love saying that. Frankie's probably like, I hate Jake. They don't care. Whatever. No, but hey, look, okay. So winners and losers. Let's talk winners and losers real quick, and then we'll get into some college. Because I know you want to talk FCS versus FBS, and we're going to get at that's going to be the next thing we're going to get into. Matter of fact, that will be the first thing we get into when we talk college. But real quick, I want to pick your brain. Who is your winners? Who is your losers? And why?
For baseball, you talking?
Baseball, yeah.
Phillies are my obvious winner right now, just because you add Trey Turner to that lineup, and that lineup is already probably the scariest lineup in the National League as it was. And you saw how dangerous that lineup could be the second half of the season when they just got on the tear that they went on to make it to the World Series. Now you add Trey Turner into that mix. Your top 7 hitters in that lineup, when healthy, are going to be Kyle Schwarber, leading off, a perennial 40-homer guy leading off. Trey Turner is going to be your number 2. Bryce Harper is going to be your number 3. Rhys Hoskins will be your number 4. Nicholas Castellanos will be your 5. JT Realmuto will be your 6. Pick your poison as a starting pitcher, which one of those top 6 hitters you're going to go after on a daily basis, because if anybody is on base, you can't afford to pitch around anybody, because then you're putting the next hitter in a better situation to drive in more runs.
The Astros did it several times. I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to leave it right there. And I'm going to drop the mic and I'm going to leave it there. No, I totally get your viewpoint. That lineup is scary. Hey, no doubt about it, man. That lineup would scare anybody. Honestly, it would scare anybody. No doubt about it, man. And again, let's also, I failed to mention that the Mets did just sign Nemo to an 8-year, $162 million, and they also brought in David Robertson, the reliever, on a 1-year, $10 million deal. Yeah, man, these Mets are just, they are not afraid to spend the money, brother. They are not. They are not afraid to spend. Crazy. Like $320 million, man. Damn, son. Right now, and you tell me if you see anything different than what I'm saying. If I had to look at the rankings right now, if I had to rank teams going into the season, I got Stros obviously at 1. I got Phillies at 2. I got Mets at 3, Braves at 4, Yankees at 5, Dodgers at 6, Guardians at 7, Mariners at 8, Cardinals at 9, and I'm wrapping it up with the Blue Jays at 10. What difference or what teams would you have differently in your 10?
Well, I think our top 2 are the same. I have Houston and Philly 1-2, just because they were in the World Series last year, so you kind of got to put them 1-2. I have the Padres 3, just because the addition of Xander Bogaerts is going to be huge, and then that team got to the NLCS last year without Fernando Tatis. So you put Fernando Tatis back in the mix with what they have, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, and with Juan Soto being there now an entire season, that's something that a lot of people aren't taking into account. He was only acquired at the trade deadline last year. They're going to have him for a full season now this year.
Right.
Number 4, I put Atlanta, just because they have all that young talent. All that young talent's locked up for another 5, 6, 7 years. They have the pitching. They have basically everything you look for in a World Series championship team. And the only difference from when they won the World Series till now is they lost Freddie Freeman. But what did they do? They replaced Freddie Freeman with Matt Olson, who's just a younger version of Freddie Freeman.
Hey, now I'm with you. So that's your top. So who you got at 5?
At 5, I have Toronto. Mainly because when it came to Toronto last year, they got off to such a bad start last year because they had no starting pitching the first 3 months of the year. They had the worst ERA in the American League the first 3 months of the year. All of a sudden, they fired their manager. I think June 8th, they fired their manager, brought in a new manager, and all of a sudden that team starts winning games. The ERA went from the worst in the American League to in the top 5 in the American League, and everybody saw the potential that team had. They're getting Hyunjin Yu back this year, who missed the last 4 months of the season with a shoulder injury. You still have Alec Manoah. You still have Jose Barrios. You still have Kevin Gausman. So the top 4 in that rotation is very good. They just need a number 5 starter, which I'm sure they'll address at some point. They still have that lineup, which is young, which is most of them are still under their pre-arbitration control years. Toronto's just one of those teams that no matter how slow they get off to, they always finish very strong, and at some point they're going to be able to put it together and play a whole season start to finish.
All right, before we get your 6 through 10, Anthony Price, do you see Cleveland being a sleeper team with Bell? And I forget the other player. I always say Cleveland's a sleeper team. Cleveland has a good team. Can they play sleeper? I don't think they play sleeper. Stat guy, you see them playing sleeper?
I don't think. Last year they played sleeper, just because a lot of people expected them to be towards the bottom of the American League Central with the kind of the roster and the payroll they had in place last year. And now after the year they had, they're not going to be a sleeper team anymore. They have Terry Francona. They added Josh Bell. They have that pitching. They have the pipeline of pitching where it seems like they just bring pitching up left and right, and whoever they throw in there does well. So they're not going to be a sleeper at all, I don't think, at any point. For me, though,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm not going to put them in the top 10 right now, but a sleeper team for me right now, I would say, is the White Sox, just because that is a very talented roster.
Yeah.
Their biggest issue last year was they could not stay healthy. Every player was hurt. Grandal was hurt. Luis Robert was hurt. Eloy Jimenez was hurt. Tim Anderson was hurt. Yohan Moncada was hurt. Giolito was down for a while. Lance Lynn was down for a while. It seemed like everybody on that roster, not named Jose Abreu, was hurt last year. If those players can stay healthy this year, that team is as talented as anybody in the American League. And they will surprise a lot of people if they can stay healthy.
Yeah, real quick, VHS Valdez. I'm not ignoring you, man. I know your question was who's our dark horse for reaching the playoffs in NFL. Hey, we're gonna get to the NFL segment. I promise you, man. I'm definitely gonna cover that. So just be patient. We're gonna get to that. Stat guy, 6 through 10, man. Just give me your 6 or give me your 5, and then we gotta get into this this college.
6, I'm putting the Dodgers just because it's still the Dodgers. They're still going to be in there until the end of it, so I'm putting the Dodgers at 6. Mets I'm putting at 7, just because I still need to see more consistency from them in the playoffs. 8, I'm going to put the Yankees. 9, I will put the Seattle Mariners. And then 10, I'm going to put the St. Louis Cardinals.
I got to be honest with you, man. The fact that you put the Yankees and the Mets as far down as you did, I agree with it. It shocked me a little bit, and I'm not mad at you. And if it turns out to be that really is the truth of it all, yeah, what a time to be alive, man. What a time. I cover all sports, man. It's cool. Do your thing. Oh, don't worry about VHS. I know who you are. We're going to have a good time today talking these mad sports. Let's get into some college real quick, man. Let's switch a mode and get into this college, man. Hey, first of all, we're gonna start it off with your question, or your topic was FBS versus FCS. Is that yeah. And which one do you think are we gonna go with? Is that what you were alluding to?
Well, did you watch the FCS game last night between Incarnate Word and Sacramento State?
I did not. I was at a work party, man. I missed all of that stuff yesterday.
That was a 66-63 game, and it came down to a Hail Mary at the end of the game to decide who was going to the semifinals and who wasn't. And I've said all along, like, I understood the BC or the FBS going with their play-at format, going with the top 4 teams make the playoffs, and then now they're expanding it to the top 12 in 2024. I'm at the point now where they should just go with the FCS format, give the top 8 seeds that first round bye, and then play 16 through 24 that first week. The 8 winners will then play the top 8 seeds that had the bye, and then you just do your standard round-robin tournament through that. And the top seed can host the games up until you get to that Final Four, and that's when you can start going to the neutral site games, because the FCS playoffs are awesome. It is much must-watch college football if you don't get a chance to watch a lot of those smaller programs. And a lot of those smaller programs, in my opinion, should move to the FBS.
Well, and all that really is just going from a bowl system, which we still kind of have, right? Except you do have the top 4 teams obviously going to a playoff system. But again, now you're really wanting to go from a partial bowl system and playoff system to just a straight March Madness tournament bracket.
I think you could do both. You could save the bowl system for like those teams that are kind of in that 6-6 to 8-4 range.
They're going to give them both. But what I'm saying is like it's just to the point where I feel like, okay, we're going to take the 8 teams because let's be honest, even in the FBS system, you know, you if you look at like what 5, maybe 6, your top 6, okay, those are the ones that really are going to give you the best games. So we set them aside. Now we look at 7 through 12 because I think it's going to be what a 12-team system, whatever. And now I'm just like, okay, give me the bullshit, give me the water, give me the foo-foo, give me the fluff. And then when I get through with the fluff, I can actually go back to what I really want to see. So what I'm saying is the pro to it is the college system does get probably maybe some more money that direction. But the negative is I got to watch a bunch of bullshit to get to what I really want to watch.
Yes and no, though, because you look at the college football rankings, number 24 team in the country could be, let's just say, for example, the number 24 team in the country could be Ole Miss.
Right.
And they come from the SEC, where if you lose to Alabama, you lose to Georgia, and you lose to Tennessee, that's 3 very quality losses. So if you're ranked 24th in the country, if you go off of that FCS system, you would be playing the team that's ranked number 9 in the country. That number 9 ranked team right now is Utah. That would be a good 9 versus 24 game.
And again, hey, I'm not opposed to. Again, I guess from college, I'm not opposed to because it is more money. I just, for me, is no. If you want to do that, that's fine. If you want to classify, and if maybe, God forbid, if there's a Cinderella. Okay, let's take Utah for example. No, screw Utah. Let's take Kansas State because we all know Kansas State beat TCU. So you take a Kansas State. Maybe, just maybe, Kansas State is a Cinderella team, and they go. And I don't even know what Kansas State's actually ranked. I don't have it in front of me. I'm going to guess maybe probably around what 9, 10.
They had 11 or 12.
Okay, so maybe even 11 or 12. So okay, so you take that 12 ranked team that beat the number 3 ranked TCU and the Big 12 conference championship. Okay, I see your point because possibly Kansas State could actually maneuver their asses up into the top 6, top 5, whatever. And it is a feel-good story. I think is that kind of what you're thinking possibly could happen and what could make it surreal is because we're looking at the NCAA March Madness where you have the Cinderella team that nobody expected to be there but suddenly is there. Is that the storyline that you're really kind of looking for in all of this?
Yes and no, but I also think instead of having, what do they have right now? 45 bowl games right now, I think they have.
Oh, it's a lot. There's so many damn bowl games up there. It's ridiculous.
You could go from 45 bowls down to 20.
So let me tell you something. You remember Mattress Mac? You remember Gallery Furniture that put money on the Astros? Remember that big $75 million? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. They actually had the Gallery Furniture Bowl. Look that up. He actually has his own bowl game. It's crazy.
I just like
to have a bowl game.
I just like the way the FCS does it just because the higher seed gets the host.
Okay, VHS, I know you got to go, but we'll see you when you get back, brother. Hey, sorry about that.
Yeah, I like the way the FCS does it just because the higher seed gets to host the game. So you're bringing in more money for those universities as opposed to playing a bowl game on a neutral site where each university gets a certain amount of money, but they don't get all of it. Versus you go to the playoff route, whoever the highest seed is, they have to continue to host that playoff game at home, which is more money for that university, which is more money for national televised games, which is more money for the NCAA, which is ultimately what they want.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because Anthony Price asked the question, can we expand the playoffs more? and cut the amount of bowl games. But you're not really cutting the bowl games because even in the playoffs, you have what the Fiesta Bowl is TCU and Michigan. The Peach Bowl is Georgia and Ohio. So there's still bowl games, but they're part of the playoff system.
Like two separate sections, though. Like you could have the 40 teams that don't make that top 24 go play in the bowl games. Give them bowl games, put them in the smaller bowl games or whatever. The 24 teams that make the playoffs, you'd have the top 8 seeds would have the bye, and then that first round of games would all be played at the higher team's site. So then when you get down to that final 16, the next round would all be played at that higher seed site. So then when you get to the quarterfinals, which would be the top 8, that's when you can go to the Fiesta Bowl. That's when you can go to the Rose Bowl and things like that, because then you can get into the semifinals and the finals and like that. You could do like the big 6 major bowl games you could save for like the quarterfinals and semifinals and still have those. But you can still have like the smaller bowls for the teams that wouldn't be in the top 24, and yet you can still cut out like 15, 20 more bowls by allowing the first 2 rounds of the playoffs to be hosted at the higher team's venue.
I want to side shift for just a second because I know Anthony Price was wanting to talk about the Heisman picks, which is actually going to go down. Let's see, it's 5 o'clock here now, or going to be 5 o'clock. So it's going down about 3 hours. 3 hours from now, we get the Heisman picks. My thing about the Heisman thing is, number one, I will tell you right now, Caleb Williams is your Heisman. I will go ahead and save you the 3. Look, if you want to go out with your wife and you're scared because you might miss who got the Heisman, I will give you 2 options. A, hit your DVR record button, and B, just understand Caleb Williams is getting the Heisman. Let me just go ahead and give you the spoiler alert. Caleb Williams is getting the Heisman. There's no way a man who just got the Walter Camp and Maxwell Awards doesn't walk away with the Heisman. Would you agree with that or disagree with that?
Do I think Caleb Williams is going to win? Yes. No, actually, should Caleb Williams win? Yes.
Oh no.
Do I think
we're not playing the shoulda, coulda, woulda. I want to see if that guy put his money where his mouth is. I want you to see your ball sack behind your answer. You give me who's going to win it.
Fine, Max Duggar.
And I want to know why.
Caleb Williams.
Agree. And again, first of all, let me just say I agree with you. First of all, I want you to understand, my opinion doesn't matter, but my opinion is in a direct alignment with what you just said. I believe, and I've said that since day one, when Max Duggan went out there and put the game on his back against Kansas State and had all those scrapes and bruises and needed oxygen because he couldn't get up off the ground after he ran that last 2-point conversion off the touchdown that he also ran in. Yeah, I am a firm believer that was a specific Heisman-esque moment, and I think Max Duggan should be the Heisman.
Because when you look at Caleb Williams, C.J. Stroud, and Stetson Bennett, they come from USC, Georgia, and Ohio State, 3 teams that have some of the most talented players in the country at every offensive position. You should be able to put up Heisman-type numbers with the types of offensive talent those teams have. Max Duggar goes to TCU, a team that does not have near the same amount of offensive talent that all these teams have, and yet he put up equally as good of numbers, if not better numbers than a lot of these Heisman candidates. And nobody expected TCU to be in the position they were in this year. Nobody expected TCU to be a playoff team this year, and they got in the playoffs, so you have to give him some merit on that. A lot of people expected Georgia to be where they are. So, yeah, okay, Stetson Bennett's your quarterback, but still, you have talent on both sides of the ball. A lot of people expected Ohio State to be where they are. Same situation. They have all the talent in the world. TCU was not expected to be there, so Duggar should get some respect for that.
Yeah, again, I get what you're saying. I'm all for Max Duggan getting the Heisman. I believe he deserves it. I think he's earned it. But at the end of the day, man, if a guy gets the Walter Camp Max Awards, I think that just kind of quote unquote cements him into that. Without cementing him, it cements him. If he did not get it, I would be so shocked that I would do Frank the Tank naked down the quad saying, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And I would even invite the officers to put it on, my arrest on TV so you can see me saying, "Oh my God," doing Frank the Tank. Hopefully it happens. I would love to see Max Dugan get the Heisman. I would be ecstatic. But I think at the end of the day, I just think Caleb Williams is going to get it. But it is what it is. Real quick, we talked about
Heisman favorite didn't even get invited to New York. So
you said what now?
I said my Heisman favorite, who I thought was going to win the Heisman, didn't even get invited to New York. So
Hooker?
Nope.
Who?
Michael Penix Jr. at Washington.
Yeah. I get that. I get what you're saying. I get that. I think what hurts him is the same thing that hurts May from North Carolina, is just the fact of it's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, if you don't play those big games, like if you don't play the big games against Georgia and then, the big rivalries, that carries a little biased against you a little bit, even though you may deserve it. You know what I mean? Because honestly, I don't think he deserves it. But I love the play of Drake May. I do. I love this.
Drake May deserves it because if you compare his numbers to who's at New York right now,
yeah,
Drake put up better numbers than all of them.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying. And what gets me, he's only a freshman. Yeah, if he stays healthy, could you imagine this guy in his junior year?
Deserves to be there. Freshman or not, he deserves to be in New York at least.
Trust me, he deserves it. And again, hey, look, man, I live in the state of Georgia, but I'm gonna tell these people. I've been telling these people anyway. I love Georgia. Hey, I got a lot of good friends here. I'm a Texan, tried and true. So hey, don't take it the wrong way. It is what it is. But Stetson Bennett, you don't belong there. I'm sorry, Stetson Bennett, you don't belong in the Heisman conversation. I feel like the only reason Stetson Bennett is there is, how like sometimes like when you have two teams. And then, like you have the Pro Bowler, and then you have the alternate, or the All-Star, and you have the alternate. I feel like Stetson Bennett is the alternate, and Hooker was really kind of the guy that was really supposed to be there, but because he got hurt and tore his, I think it was his ACL, whatever it was, it like by default disqualified him from the conversation and automatically inserted Stetson Bennett because, quote unquote, he's from Georgia. Do with that information as you will. I just think Stetson Bennett got it on. I think Stetson Bennett got it because Hooker got injured, and he was just a guy to slide up. I don't know. What is your thoughts on that situation? You're muted, by the way.
Stetson Bennett's 30 years old, so he shouldn't even be in college anymore. But Stetson Bennett got it because Georgia's number one team in the country. That's why he got it. And if you
that's exactly what I'm saying.
If you look back at history, even if the person doesn't win the Heisman, chances are the number one team in the country, whoever finishes number one in the country at the end of the year, always seems to have at least one person in New York at the Heisman. Yeah. Just because their team is number one. Whether they win the award or not is different. But I can't remember the last time that a team that finished number one in the country did not have somebody in New York for the Heisman.
Yeah, it just blows me away sometimes, man. I want to take a sidebar and just say, number one, how much I appreciate the NCAA extended one more year of eligibility to those whose eligibility has run out this year because of what went on at the University of Virginia. So I just want to say thank you to the NCAA for giving these guys another year of eligibility if they so choose, or if they want to go to the NFL, which I know a couple of them have gone into the draft. That's perfectly fine. But for those who didn't and need that one more year of eligibility to prove themselves, what a great thing for the NCAA to do. Stat Guy, what do you think, man? It's a great thing to do, man, that they gave them one more year of eligibility to kind of, do what they need to do, right?
Yeah, it is. And I said the same thing with COVID too, when they were giving them that extra year of eligibility for COVID, just because half the teams didn't play. Half the teams played. Some of them played in the spring as opposed to the fall. And the teams that played in the spring, a lot of the players chose not to play because they're like, well, we don't want to play in the spring, and then 3 months later have to come right back and play in the fall. So I was very happy to hear the NCAA get them the extra year for that. And anytime you have a situation that happened at Virginia, the entire team should be given an extra year of eligibility just because of what they have to go through. You don't know the type of toll that's going to take on that on the university. You don't know the type of toll that's going to take on the players that were involved or weren't involved. So they should be able to get that extra year of eligibility just because it kind of gives them that fresh start where they can come back and have that fresh start, a fresh mindset the next year where they don't have to think about what happened the year before, which obviously they will just because they were present when it happened, but it still gives them that fresh start to kind of start over and get that extra year.
Yeah, I believe me, I totally get that. And by the way, it's May. I know you put Mays, MEYS, and that's, hey, it's probably understand, but it's actually MAY, like the month, MAYE. MAYE is how you spell his name. But again, Anthony, me and you are on the same mindset, man. Drake May really, really deserves to be in that conversation, honestly. But again, because of where he plays, I think it hinders him a lot. Unless North Carolina can get their butts in the top, I don't know, 5 or 6, I think it just keeps him out of that conversation going forward. But, hey, man, hey, anything's possible. You never know. But again, if you're drafting, hey, let me ask you this. When May comes out, F the Heisman. If May, when he does go pro, if he stays healthy and continues to produce the numbers that he's producing, I got to be honest with you, stat guy, I don't know how you feel about it, man. But if I'm a team in need of a quarterback, I'm really strongly considering drafting this kid. What are you thinking, man?
Well, here's my other thought, though, too, on that.
By the way, if you got Doritos and salsa over there and didn't offer me none, you're an asshole.
I got chocolate.
Oh, okay, chocolate, that's fine.
I have another thought process, kind of what you were saying about, yes, like if he continues to do what he's doing, obviously I would consider making him the number 1 pick, and you would have to. But if you're Drake May, would you consider going to the XFL and foregoing maybe your junior season of college, foregoing your sophomore season of college so you can go to the XFL and get paid?
I don't know, man. Hey, I get what you're saying. I do. I understand, because maybe you're thinking, okay, I might do that. Okay, I'll tell you this. If I'm Drake May, I'm going to declare for the draft, first of all. I'm going to, and depending on where I get drafted, like let's say they draft me like bottom, I don't know, 5th or 6th round, whatever. I still think I go in there. If it's a team that's in need of a quarterback, I go in there. I don't know. Do I go straight to the XFL? I don't think I would. I'm not going to bypass an NFL contract for XFL if I have an opportunity, especially if it's a team that needs a quarterback. Because I think I could prove myself. I could prove myself at minicamp. I could prove myself at training camp. And then maybe I have to ride the clipboard 1 year. But again, if I go to the XFL, I don't know, man. I mean, I think that's taking a chance. You know what I'm saying? Because let me ask this. What pays more, XFL, NFL? Even as a 5th rounder, I'm probably going to make more money in the NFL than I would the XFL, number 1. And number 2, if I'm under contract for 2-3 years with the NFL, I probably got my own insurance policy. I think I'm better protected financially with the NFL than I am if I go to the XFL and try to go up that ladder rung. I got to be honest with you, man. Hey, if I'm Drake May and I'm going 5th round, I'm probably going to go NFL. I don't know if I go to XFL. I only go to XFL if I feel like I wasn't good enough to first go around the NFL, and I felt like I needed something to showcase what I could be to get back into the NFL.
I guess the thing that I made about it, because he would get paid the moment he went to the XFL, and if he were to go to the XFL now, he could potentially hit the NFL a year sooner. Because if, let's just say he's in the XFL in the spring and decides to forego his sophomore season, okay?
Okay, well, now that's a different twist.
He goes in the head.
That's a different twist.
Remember what PJ Walker was doing in the XFL?
Yeah, I do.
let's
I
just
do
say
remember what he was doing.
he goes out and plays lights out in his year in the XFL, and all of a sudden
Stat guy. No, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but I want to give you another. I want to give you another angle, and I want you, as you're giving this spiel, I want you to incorporate this angle into it as well. Because VHS asked, XFL is a joke. Go play for the CFL. So let me ask you this: what would you rather? Because I understand if you're going to come out of college. If that's and I'm okay with that because you know what? You can still get a degree online. So it's not like he can't still get a degree. He's going to get a degree. But let me ask you this. If you're going to do that route, would you go XFL over CFL?
Yes, because it's a different style of football in the CFL. It's 2 downs to get a first down instead of 3.
I understand that. But look, hey, watch this. I'm going to hit you with some knowledge. You ready for this? Warren Moon went to the CFL before he ever made it to the NFL. So I know he can. I think, I don't know, man.
I would do the XFL mainly because the XFL is run by NFL coaches. You're going to have players in the XFL that have been in the NFL before that can potentially help you get there. And like I said, if he goes to the XFL and has 6 or 7 great weeks and just puts up amazing numbers, an NFL team can call him and be like, we want you in training camp. And he gets to go to a training camp without even having to go into the NFL draft and has a chance to make the team just like that.
So let me ask you this. Is it a better question or a better statement based on what you're saying and what I'm interpreting you saying? Is that what you're saying is that if he goes to XFL, he has a better opportunity to develop into a quality quarterback for the NFL versus going to the CFL where he may not necessarily develop as well? Mm-hmm. So basically what you're saying is if I go to the CFL, I'm not going to develop the way I should for the NFL versus if I go to the XFL, I probably would develop at a much better rate to be successful in the NFL.
Yeah.
Because that's a good point. And I don't think and I say it that way because I think that's where you were coming from. And I want to make sure that Anthony Price and VHS and all those guys out there understood that that's a valid point because a lot of times we don't look at sometimes we go for the money and we don't look at where the best developmental chances because we all want to be in the NFL. Nobody wants to stay in the XFL. Nobody wants to stay in the CFL. We all want to be in the NFL. And which league gives you the best opportunity to be successful?
Yeah, the XFL is run by the NFL, so everything they do is going to be similar to what the NFL does versus, like I said, the CFL is.
That's good points. And that's why I wanted you to comment on that because I feel like I'm listening to what you're saying, and I totally agree with that. I feel like don't worry about the money. The money's going to be there. Go where you're going to be developed.
If he would sign an NIL deal, because I don't think Drake May has an NIL deal anyways, but if he would sign like an NIL deal with like Nike or with Adidas or with whatever company, he would still.
Come on now, VHS, stay with us. No, USFL, hell no. If that was the USFL, hey, watch this. Hey, stat guy, come in for wrong. If it was the USFL, the original version of the USFL, okay, I can give you props on that. This alternate version of the USFL is bullshit. It's bullshit.
Because if
it was the original USFL, then what VHS is saying would hold water. And VHS, I don't mean to, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way, shape, or form. I don't want you to think that. But what I'm saying is the alternate version of the USFL is freaking horrible. Horrible. Although we still have the best helmets in the USFL, by the way. Houston Gamblers all day, baby. Houston Gamblers. I believe the gambler. Anyway, hey, he said Anthony Price wants to say, stat guy, you think players getting drafted in the 6th or 7th round should skip and go to the XFL?
Yes, I do. And the reason why I say that is getting drafted in the 6th and 7th round does not guarantee you a contract. It guarantees you a tryout with the team, basically. It guarantees you a shot to make the roster. And if you don't make the roster, you get put on the practice squad where you're making, $5,000 a week? Or you get cut and you have to figure out another practice squad to land on versus if you go to the XFL, you're guaranteed to make $150,000. Which, yes.
And at the end of the day, what do we care about, man? We care about exposure.
Yeah,
a lot of times, and again, it goes back to your original point that if you're in the XFL, you're still getting the developmental knowledge to be successful in the NFL. But not only that, but you're also getting more exposure because you're going to be starting. So people are going to see you. Whereas if you're riding the pine with the clipboard at the 6th round, because that's what you're going to be doing most likely. Yeah, I get that. Because and I hate this. Every time they draft a number one quarterback, they always want to put him on the sidelines behind whatever and let him learn. Fuck that. You know what the best learning experience is? On the field.
Which is why
you
I always
don't learn unless you're on the damn field.
Which is why I always said this, Jane. I don't know how you feel about it, but when the AAF came into play, and you had those 8 teams in the AAF, and then you had the XFL come into play, and they had their 8 teams, and then you had USFL last year and their 8 teams. I said if the NFL really wants to do like a feeder program, like a feeder league or whatever.
Hold on, Stat Guy. Hold on, man. Hold on. I gotta address this shit. VHS, I love you, buddy. He goes on to say, so it goes back to my point in the CFL. You'll be a shark in a pond opposed to a guppy in the ocean in the XFL. You know what? Let me tell you something. You learn more through adversity than you do by having things given to you. And sometimes being the guppy in the ocean can make you a lion in the jungle. Understand that. Sometimes you got to be a guppy in order to be a lion. And sometimes when you go to a league that you're a lion and all the competition is bullshit, it doesn't make you better. You get better through adversity. You got to go through adversity to be better. But that's what I'm saying. Continue mission. He said, hey, listen, I know the life of a parent. It's rough out there in the world of parenthood. But no, listen, man, you got to go through that adversity. Would you agree, Stat Guy, on that, man?
Yeah, and the thing with the XFL too is The Rock, now with The Rock owning it, he's made it perfectly clear that he wants it to kind of be what the G League is for the NBA and how it can be. Yeah, which is why, like, instead of having all these NFL practice squad rosters, and the practice squad rosters are only like 20 players anyways, it's not a full roster. It's just there to get more people into practice so they can practice the scheme, practice the plays in case they need to be called upon during the year or whatever. Instead of having all these practice squad rosters, why not give every single NFL team an XFL team? Have a 32-team XFL league, have a 10-game season, and use the practice squad rosters that these NFL teams would have and use that as your XFL team. You can run the same.
I'm down with that. I think it makes financial sense, and I also think it makes practical sense for bringing players up in the league. I mean, I think that's practical. They're great.
You can run the exact same. You can run the exact same plays that the NFL team would run. You can run the exact same scheme that the NFL team would run. The XFL wouldn't be responsible for paying these players. It would come out of the NFL team's pocket because they would be the ones that own the team. And that way you can.
Let's be honest. There's no way there will never be a league that could surpass MLB, that could surpass the NBA, or it could surpass the NFL. So my thing is this. If I'm Rock, and I think Rock is a smart individual, if I know I can't beat the NFL because freaking it's the NFL, I'm going to be as much involved with the NFL, with this league. I'm going to be, like you said, I'm going to take the second best thing because you know what? I'm going to make a boatload of money. I'm going to pair my league up with their league. We're going to merge forces. They're going to take some of the overhead cost off of my shoulder. I'm still getting all the profit. I mean, and all the players are benefiting, and the teams are. It's a win-win for everybody. It just is. It would be a beautiful, beautiful marriage, honestly.
Yeah, and that way, like, all these players are getting an opportunity to play right away. And then if an injury happens, you just grab somebody from the XFL team, stick them on the NFL roster, and it's like they haven't missed a beat because they're going to know the plays, they're going to know the playbook. The only difference is going to be maybe certain terminologies that the coaches use, and obviously the talent around you.
And again, hey, I always called him VH1. I don't know. Maybe that's an upgrade. It would be VH1 Valdez, VHS Valdez. Look, VHS. I completely understand, but when you see the shelf life of a football player, it's not that long. And in the XFL, you're going to have everyone gunning for the same thing. Here's the deal. Here's the deal, man. Look, it's a competitive world out there. And yes, are you taking your chances in the XFL or the CFL? Yeah, you're taking your chances. And look, okay, that's another thing. Again, the CFL, if they're not gunning for you, that means your competition sucks. And if your competition sucks, how are you going to be better than the number one starting quarterback for whatever franchise it is you're trying to sign on with? You're never going to be better than that guy. He's going to be better than you. You've got to go up against good competition in order to be better at your craft.
Exactly. And the other point I was going to make too, and how he was saying the XFL was a joke before. If you know what the over-under in football is, right? Like how many?
Mike Hughes.
Mike
Hughes, let me tell you something, man. Your ability to show up on a show is like my wife's ability to tell me, "Oh, Jay, I'm sorry, I'm late this month." Really? Could have told me about 2 weeks ago. I'm just saying, Mike. In a way, I'm just saying you're late, but I'm glad you're here.
I'm not late. My laptop was dead.
No, you're late, bro. You're so late, it's retarded. But you know what? I don't care because you're freaking Mike Hughes. And if Mike Hughes comes on my show, number one, like Stat Guy, if Stat Guy comes on my show, I literally pinch myself. Because, and I'm not sucking any man person's parts, but I'm just saying you guys are amazing, and I respect the both of you.
Every time I come on here, bro.
Mike, I got to get your opinion on this, man. Me and Stat Guy have been going back and forth. We've been talking about Anthony. We've been talking to VHS about this. Let me ask you a question. If you're the kind of quarterback that's going to be drafted in the 6th round, would you forego that and just say, you know what? No, I'm not going to the 6th round. I'm going to carry a clipboard. And would you forego that and go to XFL or CFL? What would you do? Or would you stay there? What would be your mindset?
How old am I?
No, you're look, watch this. You're okay. Let's take, for example, Drake May. If Drake May said, you know what, I'm never going to be a Heisman because I play at North Carolina, why not just go on ahead and come out right now while I'm young as hell? I could go XFL, I could go CFL, and then basically garner up my stock equity to where when I hit the point where they can draft me, then I'll just get drafted and just forego this whole college bullshit. What would you do? If you're Drake May, what would you do? Would you stay in college and continue to go down that path? Or as a young quarterback, say, you know what? Like Anthony Price said, I'm young. I don't know how long my body can last. Let me get myself into the parlay now while I'm young. Maybe bolster up my stock in the XFL or CFL. And by the way, if you're going to go XFL, CFL, you got to tell me which way you're going to go. If you're going to, would you do that, or would you just play it out and go 6th round, 5th round, 4th round, wherever the case may be?
I think if I finished my degree and I'm going to play one more year and see what happens in college, I would just go to the NFL. That's just me personally. I like the underdog type of attitude towards it. I feel like XFL, CFL, all power to them. You know, I got my buddy Daniel Braverman plays there. He's a former Chicago Bear. He does his thing. But I feel like there's a lot of talented guys in there that don't get their shot. There's the guys that do, and it's very rare instances where they do get their shot in the NFL, but more times than not, they don't. And that's just the reality of the situation. So I do think if you want the money there, I mean, the XFL and the CFL are really coming up when it comes to, and a big part of it too, you know, they have legitimate NFL coordinators and head coaches that are there now. So it's a big plus, and the money is now starting to show up. But to me, you know, I've seen guys like, and whether you rock with them or not, Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, there's a bunch of guys who go later rounds. You know, there's amazing stories, Kurt Warner and a bunch of other guys. You know, as long as you get in, your foot is in the door, then it's up to you to really define how your career pans out. But I don't think you can really go wrong anywhere. You're a professional football player at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was telling. That's what I was telling Stat Guy earlier. I said, man, look, I don't know, man. If somebody says, hey, they draft me to 6, I'm just glad I got drafted. I don't know. It's hard to turn down that. But I also understand Stat Guy's thought process where it's like, if you're from a smaller university
Mhm.
as a junior, maybe going XFL, CFL, whatever. But let me ask you this: if you were to go XFL or CFL, which route would you go?
I don't really have enough knowledge or intelligence on that expertise department. That's why I have Stat Guy. That's why I always have Stat Guy. So wherever Stat Guy would go, I would go.
Oh no, he said XFL, which I agree with him too. I'm like, because they are partnershiped up with the NFL. I
Yeah,
get
sure. Fuck it. Why not?
And the CFL is a different style of game too. It's two downs to get a first down, not three. The field is 25, 30 yards wider. It's 50 yards longer.
Right.
It's a pass happy league, which that helps you, but it's still a completely different style of game. And if you're not used to playing it, you can't go from playing 4-down football to 3-down football and expect to pick it up overnight versus the XFL. You're playing the same exact game you've always played. Now you're just getting put with NFL executives, NFL coaches, former NFL players that are going to have the experience and the knowledge to help you get where you want to go.
As long as I'm not in a rodeo barn house like Kurt Warner was in Iowa, I'm chilling. I can't rock with that.
I got a couple of questions, but the first question is not going to be anything related to what I'm going to go off scale, off the grid, all the way around.
Why I came on this show, Jay McLovin.
No, Mike Hughes. I just want to know.
I love when you do this. Go ahead.
I just got one question and one question only.
Yes, sir.
I want to know who painted your room. And first of all, I like the color. No, the color's good. I just want to know who painted your room.
Well, see,
No. All I want to know is who physically painted your room.
Twas I.
And the reason why I'm asking you that is now, again, I can't zoom in to see how well that line is, but I just got to tell you, brother, man, the fact that those lines are so beautiful and there's no overpaint on the ceiling.
It's a perfect line.
It's just incredible. It's just incredible. I just wanted to give you mad props. That's all.
It used to be. See, I don't really even rock with the color red like that, but it used to be my sister's room.
I don't care what the color is. I'm just saying the fact that your skill set was so good that line is so nice like that, and there's no overpaint on the ceiling is just.
See, I did it during quarantine in 2020, so I literally had like nothing else to do but like perfect this room. And it used to be hot pink because it was my sister's. And like I wanted to make it.
Well, you're not man enough to rock hot pink. I thought you would be the hot pink kind of guy. Hey, hold on. Anthony Price said that line is sharper than my haircut.
I got right. Honestly, hey, you know what it is, Jay? It's the Italian in me, man, which is great.
Man, listen. You probably don't know this, Mike Hughes.
Picasso.
Hey, listen. You probably don't know this, Mike Hughes, but my aunt married into the family. Now you got to understand, my uncle that I'm blood related to is Irish. He's on the Irish side, but he married a beautiful Italian woman, and they have some beautiful Italian children. And I'll tell you right now, I hated lasagna up until the fact that I had my Aunt Beverly's Italian lasagna, and it just changed my whole world. I don't know what it was, but anyway, crazy stuff in the world. But no, man. Hey, let's go real quick, Mike Hughes. I'm gonna start this off with you.
Yes, sir.
And then we're gonna go to Stat Guy. So Nebraska brought in Matt Rule to replace Scott Freeze, and Colorado brought in Primetime before Matt Rule, and he wound up not going to Nebraska. He actually wound up taking the job at Colorado, and of course now he's going to basically rape the portal of everything out there and bring it over there. And it's okay. It's Primetime. Who doesn't want to play with Primetime? But what I'm saying is this. Let me ask you a question, man. Who got the better end of the stick, man? Nebraska getting Matt Rule or Colorado Buffs, who, for the love of God, have had multiple bottom-of-the-rung seasons for a long time now, getting Primetime? Who got the better end of that stick?
Hey, are you like based off of their futures or based off of just the coaches?
No, future. Like I'm saying, where they are now and going in the future, who made off better?
I think Nebraska will be made off better just specifically because Dion has talked about how they do not have the sponsorships. They do not have the staffs bringing in money. The alumni are not giving back in Colorado the same way they didn't in Jackson State. And there's a lot wrong with Colorado football. But based off of the coaching decision, it's Primetime, 100%. I'm rocking with Primetime. I'll always be rocking with Primetime. I feel like he's a man amongst boys, and he creates, the best version of yourself possible, whether that be a white male, a black male, a Hispanic, or a male or a female. He is a coach's coach, and he's exactly who you want to run an organization. I truly do believe in that. We're talking. It's a totally different conversation, Jay. I'm sorry, but we're talking about paying this guy $5,000 fucking dollars versus $5 million, and wondering why he left. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to pay to play, and he would be doing himself a disservice and his people a disservice by taking $5,000 versus $5 million like he's rightfully deserved. If Matt Rule is making $5 million fucking dollars, we should definitely, or Urban Meyer is making more than that. Dustin already said, but
Rule's 9.
Yeah, he's making 9. So for what? You know what I mean? So I'm really excited to see Primetime really get into it. A new conference, new division, really exciting. I mean, I think they're going to be better off from a coaching standpoint. But again, they need the alumni, and they need Jay, what is that word I'm missing right now? I'm blanking. Boosters. They need their boosters to kind of give into that money.
But let me give you the alternate question to that real quick based off of that. Because, hey, look, I've always said, hey, there's nothing wrong from an individual, right? I must say individual because I'm leaving race, color. I'm leaving all that out of the equation. I've always said for every individual, yeah, you should always want to go to new opportunities if it means more money, more exposure, and if it's just better for your overall career advancement, right? And Colorado, get into that a bigger conference really does help out Deion's ability to go to the next level of whatever level it is he's trying to achieve. Whether his ultimate level is to stay in Colorado in that division or go to the SEC and compete with the Nick Sabans of the world, whatever it is he's trying to achieve, hey, I have no problems with it. The only thing I have a problem with is he said he was going to HBU to bring better things for HBU, but then he leaves HBU within a short period of time. I feel like I don't want to say I felt like he just kind of let down on his commitment to that university.
What you got there, Dustin?
I felt like he let down his commitment to that university because
Jackson?
when he left Jackson State, he's taking not a lot more than just a quarterback with him. Like he's literally going to take quite a few people into the portal with him. And let me ask you this: did he actually help Jackson State over the long haul, or did he help Jackson State on the short interim? Because he wanted to, his quote unquote, when he first went to Jackson State, was to build up the HBUC system. But did he really do that? Or did he just do that for the short interim and then leave them and they're going back to where they became from? And it's still HBCU where HBCU was. And it was just a momentary moment of time for him.
At the end of the day, to me, and I'll let Dustin hit on his points too, because I'm sure he has a lot. They went 12-0, and that was what it was. Like that was their championship. That was everything they've wanted for years, because they're never going to get to that again. And I'll co-sign that and say they will never get.
I agree. I totally agree.
But to me, it's the conversation of, again, this man goes 12-0, and you're not talking about paying him millions of dollars. He's still on a $5,000 deal, and there's so much that goes into that. It wasn't going to get any better, Jay.
Let me ask you this: do you blame him? Do you blame him for basically telling his son, "Yo, I'm going to Colorado, and you're coming with me," and basically taking that? No, watch this. It's okay if he wants to go by himself. But when he then takes his son with him, because we all know he told his son, or he's had conversation with his son about leaving. We all know that. We're not stupid. I'm not stupid. I see the writing on the wall. Right. Do you not think that that's wrong for Jackson State? He could have said, "Yo, son, if hey, I can't tell you where to go. That's your life. You do you. But I'm going to Colorado, and this one." And if his son then says, "You know what? I'm going to go be with my dad." Okay, that's one thing. Go be with your dad. But at the same time, I just don't want him taking assets away from Jackson State simply because he's leaving and then raping them of what they have.
You gotta stop saying that. But in all seriousness, I hear you. In all seriousness,
take it away.
In all seriousness, though, fuck them, and that's what it is. Is because at the end of the day, if Deion Sanders' son, God forbid, has a catastrophic knee injury and can never play the game again, Jackson State's not going to take care of him. the draft stock of Deion Sanders' son, if he potentially does want to play pro ball. I'm not really sure. I haven't heard, interviews of his son and what his intentions are in the future. I assume he wants to play in the NFL. But that is not going to get your bang for your buck when you have a new head coach that is not Deion Sanders, most likely not going to be a competent head coach, because that's what the history of their organization has been. Everybody who's in that portal is now going to leave, I would imagine. They don't have no reason to be there. Deion just left. They went 12-0. There's nothing else to play for. The school doesn't care about the sport. Deion only took that job because it was obviously getting your foot in the door, and he wanted to help a really underutilized school when it comes to how the boosters and how the school itself treats the game of football and just the university as a whole. So to me, it would be a disservice to his son to not kind of look at him and be like, listen, this isn't the best opportunity for you. Jay, you have a son. It's this conversation of, listen, I want the best. But for you, would you want, if you had the choice of, hey, you can come with me and we can ball out and get the best opportunities available, because we're riding high on this 12-0 season with basically the Cleveland Browns and the Detroit Lions of football in college football, or you can go.
I would say this. No, honestly, how would I approach it? Number one, as long as his ass is in college and he getting a degree and he gonna make something out of his life, regardless of whether it's football or whatever. Number one, I'm already happy as all hell.
100%.
But number two, I'm not gonna tell him anything. I would if I had to say to myself, as his coach, I owe it to him to let him know what my intentions are.
Right.
Just like it is the rest of the team. I would say, hey, look, guys, for me, I'm going to take this job at Colorado. It's not that I don't want to be here, but in my career path, going to Colorado is the next step in my career path.
Right. I also think, Jay, and I'll let.
What I'm saying is, but what I would tell my team is, and what I would specifically tell my son is, if you're thriving here, if you like it here, if this is where you want to be, hey, I'm not telling you to come with me, because I want you to make your own damn decision. Right. If you want to go to the portal because I'm leaving to go to Colorado, then so be it. But I'm not telling you to come with me. I'm telling you, you're a grown ass man. Make your own damn decision. But I got to go here.
He might have had that decision.
This is my career path.
Right. And that might have been his son's decision. Deion might not have even
really and I'm okay if it is. If it is.
But I'm just saying, I don't know how it really transpired. But Stat Guy, I think me and him were kind of having a little conversation about it. And I thought one of the interesting things was, you have success in Jackson with your son. Now you go to Colorado, have success with your son. If Deion Sanders' son does go to the NFL, who's to say that NFL team doesn't hire Deion Sanders to be a coordinator or a quarterback's coach? Because your son followed you your whole career. It's kind of like
right. But hey, Mike. But you know what? I'm also thinking. You know what else I'm thinking? If I'm Deion Sanders' son, I'm thinking about, you know what, man? I need to make my own way in this world, and I got to separate myself from my father and show the world that, hey, this version of me is me and not my dad.
You know why
I'm going to carve out my own career.
You know why I disagree with you, though?
I'm just saying.
No, I think you hit on a great point. But the difference of it is the positions. I think no one's saying you're going to be your dad because he's a quarterback. Well, of course, he's not going to be Deion Sanders. Of course,
but you know what I'm saying, though, right?
I think that definitely makes sense. Yeah. Like a lot of people do that with LeBron's son. They think he's going to be the next LeBron. But when it comes to primetime son, it's like, you're not a corner, you're not a DB. Yeah. Like it's not. What
and you got to look at where Deion Sanders went to college.
Right.
Deion Sanders went to Florida State, one of the best colleges around for a long time.
Period, Florida State was Florida State. Now it's like,
if Shedeur Sanders goes to Colorado and all of a sudden Colorado turns into like a top 25 team within a year, he's going to have a completely different path than his dad took, and he's going to be.
And I get it, because it's not like his dad's on the field. I mean, it still is him on the field having to make the plays. So I understand that aspect of it as well. Okay, so Stat Guy. You're looking at Nebraska with Matt Rule, and then you got primetime Colorado. I know you had a different school you said that made out. Who do you think made out, or who do you think, in terms of all the coaching hires, got the best overall coaching hires?
So I'm going to put this in 3 parts.
Oh, damn.
I think Nebraska is going to win this hire in the short term, mainly because Matt Rule has had success at college before. He's had success at Temple. He took over Baylor when Baylor got put in the death penalty after all those sex scandals that went on in Baylor for all those years. And 2 years at Baylor, he turned them into a playoff team in college. So Matt Rule knows how to turn around a program. So I think Nebraska is better suited for the short term just because Rule's been in a situation like this before where he's had to come in and turn a program around. I think Colorado is going to be better suited in the long run because of a lot of the things that Mike said. Deion Sanders has to get the boosters on board. He's got to get the sponsors on board. He's got to get a lot of the things that Colorado doesn't have on board first. And once he gets those guys on board, then I think Colorado's program is going to take off.
Mike over there with that green Chicago. Let me tell you something. Chicago Cubs don't wear the color green. Take that crap off.
Hey, man.
You're not even Irish. Mike, you're not even Irish.
I am Irish.
No, you're not. You're Italian. Get off there.
You know what? Really quick, that guy, I want you to finish what you
Hey, listen, I'll let you rock.
You know what? Dustin,
green hat if you're Irish.
First of all, sir,
you're Italian.
Dustin is the only person who ever asked what I was. I am Irish Italian. Y'all just assume I'm Italian. I just don't. Y'all don't ask.
Hey, look. 100%. Well, no, not 100%. There is 25% American Indian in me. Cherokee, to be specific.
Every white guy in the South says that. I don't want to hear
No.
Yeah,
my great grandmother is 100%. My grandmother is 50. Actually, I'm less than a quarter. No, I'm less than a quarter. No, Mike, I'm less than a quarter because my grandmother was my great grandmother was 100. My grandmother was 50. My mother's a quarter. So I think I'm like 15.
Dustin had an amazing point, and because of your racism,
you shut your mouth. I'm 50% to the reservation.
Dustin had a great point. It's crazy.
Hey, real quick though, no, for real. Hey, listen. The way I look at this is this, man. I think both colleges made out. I think Nebraska made out with Matt Rule because what Matt Rule did with Temple, what they did with Baylor. You know he's going to bring that eventually to Nebraska. So I think they made out there. Where I think Colorado made out is he's going to have a field day in the transfer portal. Literally. Deion Sanders is going to have a field day in the transfer portal. And there's plenty of players in that transfer portal to build off of. He's got his son, number one, and then everything else can be worked out through that. I guarantee you. The beautiful thing about the transfer portal is you can take a crappy 1-13 team and within 1 to 2 years turn them into a top 25 team. If you go to the transfer portal and draft the right way out of the portal, you can build that team. That's the beautiful thing about it, right? It's free agency, baby. Pick and choose.
One team that I think made out the best of anybody though was Wisconsin in getting Luke Fickell.
Yes.
Not only you mentioned that Luke Fickell in Wisconsin.
You bring in a guy that's coached at Ohio State as an intern. You bring in a guy who took Cincinnati to the college football playoff, the only non-Power 5 conference team ever to make the college football playoff. You bring in a coach who's known as a program developer. He's known to develop quarterbacks, which is something that Wisconsin has lacked since Russell Wilson has left. They haven't been able to develop any quarterbacks. That is something Fickell has done. Fickell's always been one of the best recruiters in the nation, something that Wisconsin has lacked. Fickell's always been able to find players in the transfer portal, something that Wisconsin has lacked. And now Luke Fickell just poached North Carolina's offensive coordinator from North Carolina to come to Wisconsin. The same offensive coordinator that was the offensive coordinator for Drake May when Drake May had the season he just had. Same offensive coordinator that Sam Howell had last year when Sam Howell had the season he had. So you have to wonder if Drake may consider leaving North Carolina to come to Wisconsin via the transfer portal. Luke Fickell is going to not only help Wisconsin in the short term, but he's going to help Wisconsin in the long term too because of everything that he's accomplished in his short time at Cincinnati.
Mike, let me ask you a question, man. Speaking of, since we're on kind of talking Nick Saban just a little bit, let me ask you this, man. Nick Saban has ruled the college universe for almost a decade now. I mean, the guy's just been phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Now that we have NIL, now that we have transfer portal, we've already seen, A&M, Alabama, and there's a few other college universities. I didn't write them all down. There's a few other universities in there that have lost double-digit players every year to the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. Now we're seeing Alabama not look like Alabama. Now they're looking like, the softer version. And now they're kind of slide down to the point where they're not even in the national champ. They're not even in the playoffs this year. So let me ask you this. How much has the portal hurt and NIL hurt Nick Saban and his opportunities to be quote unquote Roll Tide, as we quote unquote have known Roll Tide to be?
Not much. I would say the NIL really fucked over places like Jackson State and places like Colorado, Wisconsin, teams that, they might not have the coaching staff, but they could throw the money. Some teams can't throw the money, and other places have Nick Saban and the money. I feel like what you're really going to see this offseason, and I do think I'm not going to be one of those guys that says, the era of Nick Saban's over, because I do believe he's going to be able to go to the front office or whoever's in charge over there and say, this is exactly why we need to start throwing more money. I probably understand they're giving a pretty penny to the majority of their guys on their roster right now, but this is why you guys need to keep firing more cylinders of even getting even better, being a juggernaut that they are, because you can't just rely on we're Alabama for the rest of your life, because these kids are getting $10 million to play college ball. They don't even ever have to play a snap in the NFL, and they'll be set. So honestly, I think it's more fuel for Alabama to kind of be like, okay, this offseason, like you said, with the transfer portal, we're going to hit, and we're going to hit on guys, because teams like Tennessee, LSU, and a bunch of other places are really coming up now. By the way, shout out Hendon Hooker, who just got snubbed of a Heisman. But
I already said that one, but hold on. I want to freeze frame for just a second. Justin, I want to ask you about something that Mike mentioned, and I want to get your thought on this. He said basically that Nick Saban was going to have to go to the upper level management of the university and say, hey, look, we got to start throwing more money at these guys. Doesn't that kind of quote unquote go against what NIL is supposed to be? That's how bad it's unregulated, because now we're talking really schools are the ones doing it, but supposedly NIL was supposed to be from third-party entities like Nike or whoever giving these guys the money and not the schools. But we all know NIL doesn't work.
Y'all know how it gets down. This shit was happening before.
No, I'm just saying though, right? That's some good. And I'm glad you said that, Mike, because we all know. Come on, man. We all know these schools are giving these kids the money through indirect means. Through indirect means, are getting the money.
And the thing with the transfer portal now too is the transfer portal has become the free agency of the NCAA.
Right.
And only
that's what I'm saying. We all know that.
Free agents in the NFL is to pay more money. The only way to get these transfers in college is pay more money. So damn well, NIL or not, these players are getting paid, and they're going to get paid by the university one way or another if they want the player bad enough.
They'll get a new car. They'll get whatever.
Their parents will get a house. Their dad will get relocated and get a house just so they can be closer to their kids.
What a time to be alive, man. All right, hey, I want to make a side shift over real quick to the NFL, man.
Oh, no.
I want to talk about Mayfield real quick, man. Mayfield.
Yeah.
Before we side shift to the NFL, I did need to ask Mike Hughes one question, because Dustin and me have already given ours. At 8 p.m., which is roughly about a couple hours from now, the Heisman goes down. Who's your Heisman? Who gets the Heisman, Mike?
Hendon Hooker.
Okay, Mike.
No balls.
Not that I don't agree with you, but the candidates that are quote unquote listed, who gets the Heisman?
Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. What he's saying is to you folks is that Caleb Williams by default is going to get it, but it really belongs to Hendon Hooker. And I agree with you. I don't disagree with you.
I think Caleb's a solid option. I don't want to give it to any of the quarterbacks. I really don't. I don't. CJ's looked like shit at times. He's looked good at times as well. He's looked solid, but it's also just one of those things where, he's not always completely impressing me. I understand JSN was out the majority of the season. Actually, Dustin, if I'm not mistaken, all of the season pretty much. But what's the other kid's name in Georgia? Bennett, whatever his name is. Yeah,
the 30-year-old virgin Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, it's good. But his defense carries him, and he's solid. Don't get me wrong, but he reminds me of like a Nick Foles kind of guy. He's not like insane. He's just one of those guys caught lightning in a bottle, has a great organization around him, talented kid. But at this moment, not no Heisman. Caleb Williams, dog, absolute dog. I love Caleb.
Yeah,
Williams.
I agree. No, Caleb was a dog.
But I will say, Hendon Hooker.
You gotta say Max Dugan's a dog too, because if you watch Max Dugan in that championship game, you can't say Max Dugan's not a dog, because that dude was giving everything plus some.
Yeah,
I think at
100%.
one point he was holding his kidney in the end zone because they lacerated it, but he still got the touchdown and the 2-point conversion anyway.
I think his only issue is it's TCU. So I mean that's
what I was telling Jay. I said when you look at the Heisman,
and I agree with what you're saying. I understand that.
Max Duggan, I think, should win the Heisman because you look at USC, Ohio State, and Georgia. All three of those teams have way more talent than TCU has.
Right.
Ohio State and Georgia were expected to be in the playoffs and expected to be where they are right now. Nobody expected TCU to be in the position they're in right now, and that's because of Max Duggan.
And that's why
Hey, hold on. Hey, VH Valdez, man. Hey, appreciate you hanging out with us, man. I know you got to go. But, man, much love, man. You have a good day, brother, and happy holidays.
But, Jay, that is exactly, for Dustin's reason, times a million for what TCU was able to accomplish is what the Tennessee Volunteers accomplished. And that's not my bias. That is just being completely real. The baseball team, phenomenal. Everybody knew that was going to happen. But the football team, what Hendon Hooker was able to accomplish this season before his ACL tear was phenomenal. You beat LSU, you beat Alabama, you went tick for tack with Georgia, and you did everything you could do to be one of the best football teams in football. And I understand his season was cut short, but he's done a lot with little, and I think he is second to nobody. So I know he's not an option, but that's who I would.
Hey, real quick before you go over to NFL, hey, don't forget, man. Hey, you can catch us. You can catch anything Unscripted puts out on Twitter by going to Unscripted Guys, all one word, Unscripted Guys on Twitter. You can also check us out on TikTok, all one word, Unscripted Sports, all one word on TikTok, or YouTube. Going to Unscripted by the date of this show. And also, you can check us on any of the All Sports, All Plays Network content. You can find us there as well as Unscripted on Facebook. NFL, man. Damn, Mayfield. God, Mike. Damn. Everybody was blaspheming Mayfield. Oh, he's done. Screw Mayfield. Fuck Mayfield. And then a guy, within 48 hours, goes to a team that virtually has no true receiver unless you're going to count Skronik or Van Jefferson. Okay, whatever. And then you got Cam Akers. Okay, but you have no Von Miller. And, yeah, that's what you're working with. 24 hours. How much of the playbook do you think he could operate on? Probably not much. But, yeah, they said he operated on more of the playbook than what they even talked to him about within the 48 hour of a plane flight and a slight little bit of a hotel visit. That's what he had to work with. No chemistry, no nothing. Did not even know where the damn dressing room was. Had to have a PR guy show him where to take off his clothes. But yet comes away with the game-winning drive, 98 yards over the freaking Raiders, man. What a time to be alive. What did y'all think about Baker? Is he the real deal? A lot of people will say, well, people didn't really know how to scout him. How did they not know how to scout him? He'd been with Carolina. He'd been with the Browns. How did he not know how to scout Baker Mayfield? But that's what they're telling us. That's on Facebook. That's what they're saying on Facebook. I've seen it numerous times. That was the thing. Well, we didn't know how to scout Baker Mayfield. Really? Because last time I checked, Baker Mayfield didn't even know how to get chemistry with his guys. Didn't even know where they like the ball to be put at. But yet he walks away with the win. What a time to be alive. Mike Hughes, I'm going to give you first option on that one because I want to hear Stat Guy's long abbreviated version of why Baker Mayfield should be the Heisman. Go ahead. Oh, no, he was a Heisman. Never mind. Don't worry about that. I'm going back to college. My bad. Let's stick to NFL. Mike Hughes. Baker Mayfield?
Yeah. I think it's am I on? Yeah. I think it's crazier to me that you could say in 2022 the Rams had both OBJ and Baker Mayfield. I think that just made me laugh because everything in Cleveland.
It does. It is ironic.
It's kind of like what the fuck, but whatever. It's definitely a case that OBJ will not be signing with the Los Angeles Rams. But in all seriousness, Baker's Baker, and this is something, it's at the end of the day, I'm not trying to shit on anything he did or anything he accomplished, because it was great. But no one ever said Baker couldn't win you a football game, especially if it's only 17 fucking points against a team that only has 4 wins on the season. I mean, Baker's a solid football player. It's just when it gets real is when you start to not see Baker Mayfield make great decisions. And I think that's just one of the biggest things what the fuck? I'm sorry. I just got the weirdest text in the world. But it's definitely something for me where it's like, this is something I expect from Baker, is to come into a game and be that guy, because that's who he was. And the pure difference is obviously situations and having Sean McVay. It's a huge difference, and you could tell that this is easily the most qualified, intelligent individual he's ever had at the helm at being a head coach and a coordinator he's ever had in his career, whether that be in Oklahoma or whether that be in Carolina or obviously Cleveland. I mean, this is second to nobody, and that's definitely going to help him down the line. I'm excited to see if Cooper Kupp ever gets back at it, what that connection could be like. And I was going to come on here and potentially even say I could realistically see Baker signing with the Rams at the end of the season on a cheap deal, waiting for Matthew Stafford to either retire or just shit the bed. And Baker would be the new franchise quarterback and a cheaper franchise quarterback that they don't have the draft capital to get. So you could get a potential former number 1 pick and a guy who just kind of never had the right situation. Even when he did have the right situation, it was short-lived. Did Baker really win it, or his Carr can't beat the Rams because Carr is 0-3 against the Rams?
I don't read that shit. I just want people to understand that this show doesn't discriminate in comments. Don't read that bullshit. It's all good.
I mean, I guess what Damian said, both comments are true. I mean, Derek Carr.
I get that too, and Damian, you know how we roll on the show, but
you lost to Baker. So I don't want to hear it.
Yeah,
the guy who only had 48 hours, to Jay's point. So, I mean, I don't. Yeah. All I know is the LA Hulu sports commercials are probably lit right now with Baker Mayfield.
Well, think about it too, right? They say, well, how we didn't have chance to prepare for Baker. We didn't scout, but what did Baker have an opportunity to even scout the Raiders? Or even get their own timing. I mean, that it goes both ways, man. The fact that the guy, stat guy, the fact that Baker didn't even know all the audibles, didn't even know all the hand signals, but he's out there. If you watch Baker Mayfield, he's out there doing audibles with his hands. He's out there doing things with his hands within 48 hours. I don't know about you, but do you know how hard it is to learn some kind of hand signals within 48 hours and be able to communicate with hand signals and stuff? It's stupefying. It's stupid. But again,
Chicago, all they do is communicate with hand signals. I learned that in like 5 minutes.
Listen, that's a whole nother level of communication. Bro.
All you got to know is 2 things: whether it's a friendly or not a friendly or not a friendly.
Hey, listen, man. Hey, one of these days, me and you, Mike, are gonna sit down. I'm gonna tell you about my day.
I'm running. I'm gone.
All I know about Chicago is a Honda Del Sol, top off, a Hispanic, half white female driving, and an all white male in the passenger side. And we're going through Cabrini Green because, quote unquote, at the time the girlfriend said, because we were on our way to our mom's apartment, this is a shortcut. And I said, shortcut my ass. Cabrini Green, that looks just like the Good Times Hotel. Hold on a minute now. Hey, watch this, Mike. I did just like this. Watch this. Get up, boys. Slide it in, and then blow back.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, and then she stops at a red light. Listen, I know that right said red, but in my mind, it's still green. Haul ass.
100%. I mean, you don't really stop at them. You kind of just
roll through them.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe you roll through them. But no, hey, stat guy, man. Back to Baker, man. Real quick. Back to Baker, man. To the point of what Mike is talking about at the end of the season, does LA offer him an extended contract and let him maybe go to a quarterback competition with Stafford in the offseason and may the best man win? Or if Baker does extremely well, let's say Baker wins out, and maybe they miss the playoffs because they just mathematically couldn't get in.
That would be a problem.
Yeah. then does Baker say, you know what? I'm going to test the market and see where I want to go. Make my own decision for once. If you're Baker, what do you do?
Before Stat Guy goes, though, I will say this. If you get a chance to be in LA and have Cooper Kupp, I don't care what the market is. I would stay.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is if a team is telling you got to go to quarterback competition, I don't know. Because, hey, well, again, to your point, Mike, let's be honest. From a playoff standpoint, how many teams out there really don't know who their quarterback is? So by that logical reasoning, maybe, I don't know, it's that guy. I'm going to be quiet. What do you think, man? What does Baker do at the end of the season? If he wins out and you're Baker Mayfield, what do you do at the end of the season?
Well, if you're Baker Mayfield, you don't want to leave the Rams because you have Sean McVay. You finally have a coach that is competent, and you finally have a coach that, for the most part, knows what he's doing. That's not to say that Kevin Stefanski doesn't know what he's doing in Cleveland, because Kevin Stefanski got the Browns to the playoffs with Baker Mayfield before, but it was clear that Matt Rule had no idea what he was doing in Carolina, so nobody could really expect Mayfield to be successful when he was there. If you're the Los Angeles Rams, you don't even allow Mayfield to hit the market. You lock Mayfield up now if you can, for one reason. Matthew Stafford is out for the rest of the season because of a neck injury. He's had back injuries in the past. He's had neck injuries in the past. It's getting to the point now with him being 34, going on 35. How much more can he take with the neck injuries? It's starting to become one of those chronic issues where if it's going to continue to bother him, you can't invest the kind of money the Rams have in him long term. They need that fallback option, and Baker Mayfield is not a bad fallback option, especially if he's with the right personnel and the right coaching staff. And I think the Rams would obviously be the best coaching staff that he's ever had. And I think having a guy like Cooper Kupp would be the perfect personnel for Baker Mayfield to maybe get the most out of him.
No, and again, I agree with you. Another interesting quarterback issue was if you look at the Falcons bench Mariota for Calvin Riddler, the quarterback out of Cincinnati. I think it's a good thing, man. Look, Falcons have lost 4 out of 5. They've only gotten to 20 points once out of that 4 out of 5.
They beat the Bears.
Mariota's accuracy clearly is an issue since he's been off by 20% of his passes. And Riddler has put the work in with the scout team. And so I feel like when Riddler is putting the work in to try to get to where Mariota is with the franchise, at this point, I got to be honest. If I'm the Falcons, I am benching Mariota. I am going to put Calvin. I'm not Calvin. I was going to Calvin. I am putting Ritter in there to see what he can do and see what I got in him. I mean, does anybody disagree if that's a bad move or a good move? I know I'm gonna go bottom to top this time. Stat Guy, what do you think, man? Was it the right thing now for them to do that?
It's the right thing now for the type of year the NFC South is having. Because even right now, Atlanta's sitting at 5-8, and they're still only 2 games behind Tampa Bay, so they can win out and still make the playoffs. They're not going to, I don't think, but they're not eliminated from playoff contention yet, so they're still within striking distance. If you look at the division itself, Atlanta has also scored the most points in that division offensively. So Marcus Mariota was getting his job done when he was out there. Their problem was just their defense has got awful in Atlanta. They can't stop a cold if they tried. So right now with Desmond Ridder, I think this is one of those classic moves where you just make the move to kind of be like that shot in the arm, maybe like a jolt of energy that a team needs. And we've seen it before. And I'm going to use Colin Kaepernick as an example.
Oh, no.
We saw the jolt of energy that Colin Kaepernick brought to the 49ers when the 49ers made him the starting quarterback. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say that Desmond Ridder is going to bring that same sort of energy there, but maybe you can get 1 or 2 games like that out of Desmond Ridder this year to kind of keep Atlanta in that playoff conversation until the final weeks of the season. Then you head to the offseason. Mariota was only on a 1-year deal anyways. So then at that point, you already made the move to Ridder now. You saw what Ridder can do. At that point, you're full go going with Desmond Ridder the rest of the way.
No, I understand and I agree with your viewpoints. At this, like I said, I've already said, hey, look, at this point, I saw what Mariota can do, and we're kind of sucking and we're under 500. Let's just go on ahead and throw Ritter. What do we got to fucking lose at this point?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
Me? Sorry. This episode is sponsored by Jewel Osco and all grocery stores in America. Please get your flu shot.
Because I thought that was a marijuana cough, but okay, keep going.
No,
I'm very familiar with the marijuana cough. I've done it quite frequently in my life, so I can sense it.
As have I, but I am a retired veteran now. Anywho, I think in all seriousness, what Desmond was able to do in Cincinnati in 2021, Dustin and I had a field day talking about that kid, man. I mean, that kid is a phenomenal talent. He's one of the biggest sleepers that came out of that draft class. And I do believe that he is going to be a solid NFL quarterback one day and not hey, he's a backup plug-in guy, maybe in a system at some point. Like, he is going to be a stud. I'm really excited for next season for him because you have guys like Cordell Patterson already there, obviously. But the biggest name is Calvin Ridley. Giving Calvin Ridley and Drake London and Kyle Pitts that connection.
Calvin Ridley's gone.
Calvin Ridley gone. Calvin Ridley is gone.
Yeah, because he's over in Tampa now.
Yeah, trade to Jackson.
But I have a feeling if Ritter plans out, they're not going to try to draft
fucking stupid. Oh my God, Dustin, I was excited about that.
but listen, Mike.
Jay, hold on, wait, because I'm processing this. Didn't he get suspended for betting on?
Yeah, he got traded to the team that he bet on. That's what made the trade funny.
Oh, there's a lot of things that made that trade funny, by the way, but we'll stick with that.
Oh, fucked up. But anyways, whatever. You still got Kyle. He's cool. He can't catch a touchdown the same way they can't stop him.
Zacchaeus isn't bad.
Yeah, Zacchaeus is nice. Drake London's a dog. But I'm excited for Ritter, and I think, you're at that time of the season where, you look at what happened with Justin Fields last year. I mean, Rob Scott! Man, Rob, you didn't hit me back today. Rob didn't text me back, but there are so many times I forget to text back Rob, so it's okay. But this episode of Bullshit will be going live either tomorrow or later tonight because I'm gonna be at the game.
We love some bullshit. Let me tell you something.
Hey.
If you guys haven't catched out bullshit with Rob Scott and Mike Hughes, man. Oh, by the way, Mike Hughes, I still think we're related because I do have a cousin whose last name is Hughes. And there could still be some DNA in there somewhere, but which would explain your awesome facial hair. But by the meantime, man, damn, what a time to be alive.
Not a lot of people in my family have facial hair. That's the weird part.
That's what you get from our side, but it's okay. Keep going.
Oh God. But yeah, man, I'm gonna be looking. I'm going to see Luka Magic tonight, so I'm super excited about that.
I would be too.
Yeah, man, I love. Last time I saw Luka, he only had 7 points in the first half, and I wanted to beat the shit out of him because I paid good money for that. But in all seriousness, I love Ritter, and me and Justin and I, pardon me, I'm in English 102 now. I need to be better. But what happened with Justin Fields, what's happened with Trey Lance, and what's happened with a bunch of other quarterbacks in the NFL, especially Trevor Lawrence, who got thrown into some bullshit last season. For Ritter to actually get a full season to kind of just hang out and chill and really just become himself. Now's kind of the time. I mean, it's really what the fuck kind of season. Like, no one really cares at the end of the day, and everybody knows what you have in Marcus Mariota. He wasn't a dog in Oregon. He wasn't a dog in Tennessee, and he wasn't a dog here either. So I mean, he's a solid athlete. I would not call Marcus Mariota a quarterback. I could do that too, Jay.
Tonight I'm gonna
when you do it, it's fun. When I do it, it hurts because there's not enough.
Don't feel bad. Dustin over there can't grow enough. I don't know. I ain't never seen Dustin with a beard. I'll believe it when I see Dustin with the beard. Dustin, that's your homework assignment. Between now and the next 3 weeks, I want to see some facial hair. Let's go. No, let me ask you guys. I got a couple questions that we got to get out. Couple questions. Number one, Odell Beckham Jr., man.
Damn. No.
Does he come back this year, or is he
No.
just better off coming back next?
This is the most like blue ball.
Because he's still in it now. He hasn't said he's not. He's not. Mike.
He's not.
I thought it was. Look, I knew for a fact when Jerry Jones didn't get him a contract because he felt like he had not spent enough time in rehab due to his medical staff telling him, "Hey, look, this dude's not ready." He just came off back-to-back ACL tears. He's only been out 10 months away. He's not ready. His body's not ready. If you bring him in, you're going to regret it because he will not. He'll just tear it again.
I think his body's ready. I just don't think it's.
I don't know. Do you think it is?
No. Medically, his body is ready to perform these kind of things, but because of the history that goes with that in the game of football, it's not like he's ready to do physical activity. He can run.
No. What I'm saying is he might be ready to watch this. Can Odell Beckham do a 5-kilometer run or 5K run? Probably. Can Odell go out there and play football? Probably not.
Exactly, and that was my point. Like physically, I think he.
Yeah, I get that, and that's what I'm saying. And I think. Because if he was ready, if he was healthy, if the medical staff said, "Yo, Jerry, this guy's ready to go," there's no issue. Jerry's gonna give him a contract. Jerry's not gonna let him walk.
Which is exactly why I said to Dustin at the beginning of the season, I want Odell Beckham Jr. in a Chicago Bears uniform. And the reason for that wasn't because I thought he was ever gonna suit up and be a fucking Bear. There's three reasons really. One, I wanted the jersey. I just thought I deserved it. Two, I don't want to hear about it because my biggest one is 3. I mean, he's just been blue balling everybody in the league all year, trying to remain relevant because he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. He's going to be able to say, I had a whole year off to recuperate. He's been getting free dinners. He's been getting wine, dined, and fucked by the Cowboys, Giants, and Bills. I mean, they took him to a fucking basketball game. I saw Micah Parsons and everybody else sitting courtside with him for what? To say, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm still not good. Like, at the end of the day, I get it from a market standpoint, but just do what you got to do and just shut the fuck up.
And I agree with you. And Dustin, to what Mike and both of us are really saying, when they take him, when I say they, I mean when Parsons and Trayvon Diggs.
You talking about ICE is coming to take him?
Hey, no, not yet. Calm down now.
That's scary.
Hey. When Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons is taking OBJ to a Dallas Mavericks game and the damn stadium is screaming OBJ come to Dallas basically.
Yeah.
You don't think Jerry don't see that? You don't think Jerry's thinking like, damn.
Oh, he definitely does.
My players on my team want him here. The city of Dallas wants him here. Financially, it would be my best interest to bring him here. But then the medical staff says, Jerry, no, not right now. Wait till the beginning of next season. Let's reevaluate him medically, and we'll go from there. And when Jerry don't give you a contract, that's got to speak volumes, not only to Odell Beckham Jr., but to the Giants and the Buffalo Bills. Maybe there's something there that we need to say, you know what? And then, in that case, stat guy, next year comes, right? Next year comes. Now we're in right before training camp next year. Who signs Odell Beckham at that point? Because you know they're going to bring him back in for reevaluations. Who brings him in? Does Dallas bring him in? Buffalo? New York? Does any team? The Bears. Does any team bring him in for reevaluation?
I'm sticking with the team that I've said was a mystery team for a while now, and I'm going to ride that until he decides where he's going to sign. I think Minnesota brings him in to replace Thielen. He's got the relationship with Kwesi. Kwesi was with him in Cleveland. Kwesi and him kind of, when things were going bad between him and Baker Mayfield, him and Kwesi sat down together, cleared the air, and at least got them on the same page long enough where they can make the postseason that one year. He still has that very good personal relationship that he has with Kwesi, which none of these other teams have. Yes, he's got Von Miller in Buffalo, who he's got a relationship with, and yes, he's got relationships with players on other teams. But Minnesota has the only coach or a GM that has that personal relationship with him. He's with him in Cleveland when Cleveland was going through their tough times. And yet Kwesi took a shot on Odell Beckham then because he was the assistant GM in Cleveland when Cleveland brought him there. So the longer he goes unsigned, I think the better that works out for Minnesota because they're going to need a replacement to replace Adam Thielen because Thielen's 32 years old this year. He'll be 33 next year and in the final year of his contract next year. They're going to need somebody to complement Justin Jefferson. And if you throw Odell Beckham in there with Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, and Dalvin Cook, that's a very scary offense.
I don't know. I put that up. But all right. Hey, let me go to this last question, and we're going to get up on out of here. By the way, if you're watching the game, it is now 10-10. 10-10. Army, Navy with 153 left to go in the fourth. I hate this game. I hate it became, like I was telling him earlier, man, I got 10 years in the Navy, and I got 10 years in the Army. And every time this damn game comes on, I feel conflicted. It's like a child being torn between two parents, and you don't know which way to go. What a time to be alive. Last question, and we're gonna get up on out of here. By the way, man, what a hell of a good day today's been. Which Raiders lost? Man, I wish Logan was here because it would be great. Which Raiders loss was more embarrassing? The loss to the Colts with freshly lamented head coach Jeff Saturday, which we all know has a head coach of experience of a high schooler. And by the way, that is factual. And or the Dallas Cowboy drumming of like 54 to like 14. Which one of those two losses do you think is the worst?
For the Raiders?
Yeah.
I'm going off the wall, and I'm going to say neither one of them.
Same.
Damn. Okay. Well, which one do you think was the most embarrassing?
Losing Rick Bisaccio.
Well,
Rick Bisaccio kept that team together last year. Rick Bisaccio got that team to the playoffs last year.
Hey.
Give him
last year. Hey, guy, don't you start bringing coaches from last year.
When was Rick Bisaccio let go? He was let go in January 2023 or 2022. So we're still in this year yet when they let Rick Bisaccio go.
Okay, fine. Okay, I'll give you it by default. Okay, you're fine. I'll let you say that.
Was losing Rick Bisaccio because he's the reason.
The question, but I'm gonna let you go with that answer. That's fine. If that's your answer, so be it. By the way, you have a really good Jason Statham hairline. Hey, Mike Hughes, man. Now, if you want to go to the stat line and you want to go with that coach, certainly that is acceptable. But again, I gave you two pretty good embarrassing escapades. Which one do you think was worse? Or do you have another game that you thought was worse?
I am also not picking either of those games. I think they got blown out 24-0 by the Saints, who are currently
that was a bad game too. Yeah,
that's as bad as it gets, to be honest.
Man, when your offense when you're an offensive coordinator by nature and you don't score a point, yeah, that kind of looks bad on you.
And you lose to your former head coach and Dennis Allen, who won like a total of 6 games as the Raiders head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Man, hey, I don't know about you, man, but hey, all I can say is what a time to be alive. And then last comment of the night, Odell Beckham just signed with the XFL. Okay, it is what it is. Oh, Jesus, man. That never gets old. I don't care how many times I put a Damian comment up there. It just never gets old. And I love Damian. He's a good boy.
I love Damian.
Hey, man, we're gonna get to some final thoughts, and then we're gonna part ways, and we're gonna go watch the rest of this Army-Navy game. Dustin, man, final thoughts, brother.
Well, you're watching the rest of your Army-Navy game. I've had the Division II and Division III college football semifinals on today. Ferris State won against West Florida earlier in the day, 38-17, and Colorado School of the Mines is about to become the other team to make the Division II championship because they're just crushing Shepherd right now. And then Mount Union and Wartburg were in an old-fashioned back-and-forth game today. Mount Union won 34-31, and North Central is leading Mary Hardin Baylor in the other Division III semifinal right now.
Wow.
Man, that – okay. Mike Hughes, final thoughts?
I'm going to see Luka. That's going to be my day. That's all my thoughts.
I can't hear you. Say that one more time.
I'm going to go see Luka,
Watch the
and I'm
MVP.
going to have myself a day.
He's going to go watch
Hey, let me ask you. Hey, speaking of which, real quick. One question, and all I need is a name. Just a name. Stat guy. mid-season, early season, whatever you want to call it, MVP right now, who are you looking at?
For the NBA?
Yeah.
Luka Doncic.
Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to round that out. Luka. It's about time that we recognize Luka for what he's doing, man. The dude's just playing lights out.
You can attest to this, Mike, because when the NBA playoffs last year ended, I said my hot take was Luka was going to win the MVP this year.
Oh yeah, I mean that's been my take for the last 2-3 years. So
I'm happy
I'm here.
Man. Hey, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I did think Joker had a legitimate case for the MVP last year, but I've always said that I think Luka is undervalued or underestimated for what he's doing on the court and what he means to the Dallas Mavericks. And I think this year we really just got to acknowledge that and honor Luka and say, look, Luka's year, man. And again, hey, barring injury, as long as he stays healthy, I think this is the year we really got to start considering Luka for the MVP. It's your boy Jay McLovin. I just want to say thank you very much, Stat Guy, for coming on and hanging out with me. Mike, you're late, but man, I love you, brother. I love you. You're like the brother that I've always wanted, never had, and I'm pretty sure my mom wasn't ready for it. But either way.
She won.
Hey, but either way, man, I love you, man. Thank you for coming on the show. Again, it's Mike at Bullshit with Rob Scott. And Mike, what is this show? You also have Mike on the mic. Don't forget Mike on the mic. Catch that show. And then there's also the show where you do for the Sky. Is that also Mike on the mic? Or is that a different name? I always forget.
Yes, sir. That is Skytown. We are starting up next month. Free agency's kicking. Brianna, Brittany Reiner, a bunch of other players are now going to be entering free agency. It's going to be crazy. Candace Parker, the entire Chicago Sky are fucking free agents, which is going to give me an aneurysm. But we're going to figure it out. But that's going to be coming up January 1st. We're going to start that one. Maybe January 2nd. Give everybody a little time. And then you can check Pros and Joes with myself and Jim Cross. We interview all minor league baseball players and former college teammates. Friends versus Foes edition is this season. We just had 3 national champions from Ole Miss on: Brandon Johnson, Tim Elko, and Dylan DeLucia, who is the life of the party. Super fun. You guys can definitely check that out on Spotify right now. Or follow me on the TikTok. Got it right there where my name be. It's the Shy.Kid. I'll just be bullshitting on there, but you guys can check it out if you want.
Hey, and if anybody forgets all that information, just go to All Sports, All Plays.
Oh, God, because it's all there. It's everything I do.
If you go to All Sports, All Plays, if you didn't remember any of what you just heard, Skytown, Bullshit, Pros and Jokes, just go to All Sports, All Plays. I promise you all that content is available at the All Sports, All Plays on Facebook, and you'll catch all that content there. Again, don't forget, Stat Guy is 9 a.m., usually Monday through Friday with Gonzo doing the baseball show. You can catch him there making appearances on Unscripted when I'm lucky enough to get him, and as well as Mike Hughes. This is your boy Jay McLovin, man, saying, look, you can catch Unscripted Guys, all one word, on Twitter, or Unscripted Sports, all one word, on TikTok, or just go to All Sports, All Plays, or Unscripted on Facebook. You'll find us. I want to thank my guests. I want to say, man, what a time to be alive in the world of sports. It's just incredible, everything that's going down and everything that is to come. And, yeah, man, we'll see you guys later.